All right, golf fans, get ready, because today we are going deep on the swing of a legend, Rory McIlroy.
I am excited.
We've got some really cool analysis reports on his technique, and even if you're just, a casual weekend golfer, I think this is going to be really fascinating.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Rory's swing, it's like a perfectly engineered machine.
Yeah.
And understanding its mechanics can really teach us a lot about efficiency and power.
For sure.
Not just in golf, but, in any athletic movement, really.
So the reports highlight Rory's rotation and how much clubhead speed he generates, but
Yeah.
the numbers are kind of mind-blowing, right? His chest rotation speed during the downswing puts him in the 97th percentile
Wow.
among PGA Tour pros.
That's impressive. Yeah, and what's really interesting is how he achieves that rotation.
Okay.
It's not just about raw power, it's about the specific way he tilts his spine during the backswing.
Okay.
So this creates this unique angle that allows for a much more efficient transfer of energy.
Interesting.
Compared to golfers who rotate more horizontally. It's like winding a spring more tightly. You get a much more explosive release that way.
So more efficient, tighter spring.
Oh.
Okay, gotcha.
Exactly.
So a report mentions 86% pelvis rotation, 97% chest rotation, and 89% for something they call the X factor.
Right.
Can you explain what that means?
Yeah, sure. So the X factor refers to the difference in rotation between the hips and shoulders at the top of the backswing.
Okay.
Essentially, it measures the amount of separation, between the upper and lower body, creating a sort of winding up effect.
Yeah, like a coil.
Exactly. And the bigger the X factor, the more potential energy is stored, and Rory's is off the charts.
So it's not just how much he rotates, it's the way that he separates his upper and lower body.
Exactly. It's that precise sequence of movements that allows him to generate that power.
Wow.
It's like a domino effect.
Yeah.
Each movement triggers the next, building momentum and speed as it goes.
Now, I always thought golf swings were all about, swinging horizontally. But these reports, they really emphasize the importance of vertical motion, which seems kind of counterintuitive at first.
You're right. It might seem strange, but vertical motion is a crucial component of generating power and stability in the golf swing.
Okay.
To move something forward forcefully, you also need a downward force, right?
So it's not just swinging the club at the ball, but also down through the ball.
Precisely. And Rory excels in this area, too.
Does he?
He has an exceptional pelvis drop.
Pelvis drop.
Ranking in the 89th percentile. This basically means he's really good at dropping his hips downwards during the downswing.
Okay, I'm picturing it. So he's rotating explosively, but also dropping his hips down at the same time.
Yes, and that drop creates a powerful downward force that adds to the rotational energy. It's almost like a slingshot effect,
Yeah.
And the fascinating thing is that this drop doesn't just contribute to power, it also enhances stability and control.
So even in a golf swing, stability comes from downward movement.
It's a principle we see in a lot of athletic movements. A lower center of gravity often provides a more stable base. Think about a boxer crouching low. It gives them more balance and power.
Right.
Rory's swing incorporates this principle beautifully.
This is already blowing my mind, and we've only just begun.
Yeah.
Now, the report also mentions this thing called kinematic sequence, which sounds very technical.
It does.
Can you break that down for us?
Well, it sounds complicated, but it's a pretty simple concept with a fancy name. Essentially, it refers to the order and timing of body movements in the swing.
Okay.
Think of it like cracking a whip.
Okay.
It starts with a slow movement at the handle and builds to a lightning-fast snap at the tip.
So a good kinematic sequence is like a well-timed whip crack.
Exactly. And Rory's swing exhibits an incredibly efficient sequence. Each movement flows smoothly into the next, transferring and amplifying speed from his hips to his torso to his arms, and finally to the club head, just like that whip cracking.
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
So it's not just about strength, but also about timing and coordination.
Absolutely. You could be the strongest person in the world, but without a well-sequenced swing, you'll never generate that kind of power and efficiency like Rory.
So we've learned about his incredible rotation,
Yeah.
the importance of that pelvis drop, and how his swing is like a perfectly timed whip crack.
Yeah.
But, even with all these strengths, is there anything Rory could improve upon?
Well, even the greatest athletes have areas they can refine.
Right.
And that's what makes analyzing his swing even more interesting.
Yeah.
The report does highlight a few subtle areas where Rory could potentially gain even more power and control.
Really? And all ears, tell me everything.
Let's start with something called chest slide. It's a slight lateral movement of his chest during the transition phase of his swing.
Okay.
Imagine your shirt buttons moving slightly sideways instead of staying directly above your belt buckle during the swing.
Okay.
That's chest slide, and it can cause a tiny bit of instability because his upper body gets a little ahead of his lower body.
Interesting. So even a slight misalignment can throw things off.
Right.
I guess at that level of precision, even tiny details matter.
They do.
What's the other area for improvement?
The other area is in his release, specifically his wrist angle and how he releases the club through impact.
Okay.
Think of it this way. The way you release the club influences the direction and spin of the ball.
Gotcha.
A slight adjustment to Rory's wrist angle could mean even tighter shot dispersion and more control over his ball flight.
So it's about squeezing out every ounce of efficiency and control, even in those final moments of the swing.
Aw. I'm sensing a theme here.
Yeah.
We haven't even touched on the fact that Rory isn't a giant among golfers.
Right.
How does he generate so much power despite not having the longest levers?
That's what makes his swing even more remarkable.
Yeah.
He's maximizing his physical attributes through sheer efficiency and technique.
Yeah.
For example, he uses a slightly steeper shoulder plane compared to taller golfers.
This allows him to create a more vertical launch angle, which compensates for his lack of height and helps him achieve those incredible distances.
Okay, that's clever.
Yeah.
He's essentially adapted his technique to overcome a potential disadvantage. It's like he's found a way to bend physics to his will.
Exactly. And that's a valuable lesson for any golfer, regardless of their physical build. It's about understanding your strengths and weaknesses and finding ways to optimize your swing for your unique body type.
So we've covered a lot of ground here. We talked about his incredible rotation, the importance of that pelvis drop, the beautifully timed kinematic sequence, and even these subtle areas for improvement. It's really mind-blowing how much complexity is hidden within something that seems so simple.
Absolutely. It's a testament to the incredible biomechanics of the human body and the level of precision that's required to perform at the highest level.
But you know what I find really inspiring is that we can all learn from this, even if we're just weekend hackers.
Yeah.
What are some key takeaways from Rory's swing that everyday golfers can apply to their own game?
Well, the biggest takeaway is the importance of efficiency and sequencing.
Right.
Many amateur golfers focus on swinging as hard as they can, but true power comes from a smooth, well-timed sequence of movements.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
It's not about muscling the ball, but about letting the swing do the work.
Right. And another important lesson is the importance of vertical motion.
Okay.
Don't be afraid to let those hips drop during the downswing. It can add serious power and stability.
I'm definitely going to be thinking about that next time I'm on the range. Are there any drills or exercises that amateur golfers can do to improve their sequencing and vertical motion?
Absolutely. There are many drills that can help you feel those movements and incorporate them into your swing.
Okay.
For example, a simple drill is to practice swinging with your feet together.
Okay.
This forces you to engage your core and rotate your upper body more effectively.
That's a great tip. I'm going to try that one myself. It's amazing how studying the swing of a pro like Rory can teach us so much about the fundamentals of the game. It's like a masterclass in biomechanics and efficiency.
And the best part is that these principles apply beyond golf.
Oh, yeah.
Understanding how to use your body efficiently can benefit you in any sport or activity. It's about moving with grace and power and finding that perfect harmony between effort and ease.
I love that. It's not just about hitting a golf ball farther. It's about moving your body better in any context. So as we kind of wrap up this first part of our deep dive into Rory's swing,
Right.
I want to leave our listeners with one final thought-provoking question.
Okay.
What other seemingly simple actions rely on such complex biomechanics?
That's a great question. I think it's safe to say that most human movements, even those that seem effortless, are more complex than we realize.
Yeah.
Think about something as simple as walking. It involves a complex interplay of muscles, joints, and neurological coordination.
You know, now that you mention it, even something as basic as walking can be a source of fascination when you start to break it down. It makes you appreciate the incredible complexity and adaptability of the human body.
It's true. We often take our bodies for granted, but they're truly amazing machines. And by studying the way experts move and perform, we can gain a deeper understanding of our own physical potential, you know?
Totally. I love that. So much to think about there, and we'll pick up on that idea when we come back in part 2.
Sounds good.
Welcome back to our deep dive into the mechanics of Rory McIlroy's golf swing.
It's great to be back.
So before the break, we were talking about some areas where Rory could even improve his swing even more.
We were.
You mentioned this thing called chest slide.
Right, so chest slide, it's the subtle thing, but at Rory's level, every little detail matters.
Yeah, for sure.
So during the transition from backswing to downswing, his chest moves a little bit laterally, instead of staying directly over the ball.
Okay.
This can create a tiny bit of instability just because his upper body gets a little ahead of his lower body.
You know what I'm thinking about, those high-speed cameras they use to analyze these swings?
Oh, yeah.
It must be amazing to see these tiny details that you'd never catch with the naked eye.
Absolutely. I mean, the technology is incredible. It allows us to really break down these movements frame by frame and see things that were previously invisible.
So what about that other area for improvement? You mentioned his release.
Right. The release is all about how the club is delivered to the ball at impact. A slight adjustment to Rory's wrist angle could give him even tighter shot dispersion and more control over his ball flight.
So it's about maximizing efficiency even at the very moment of impact.
It is every tiny detail contributes to the overall outcome.
You know, it's funny. We've talked so much about his rotation, his pelvis drop, his kinematic sequence. But we haven't even mentioned the fact that Rory isn't exactly a giant among golfers.
That's a good point.
How does he generate so much power when he doesn't have, the longest levers?
Well, I think that's what makes Rory so fascinating to study. He's maximizing his physical potential through pure efficiency.
Yeah.
He uses a slightly steeper shoulder plane during his swing. This allows him to hit the ball with a higher launch angle, which makes up for his height and helps him achieve those incredible distances.
So he's kind of adapted his swing to overcome a potential disadvantage.
Exactly. And that's a great lesson for any golfer, no matter how tall you are.
I see it as kind of bending the laws of physics.
Yeah, it's about working with what you've got and finding ways to optimize your swing for your unique body type.
So I've covered a lot of ground here. Rory's rotation, his pelvis drop, his kinematic sequence, even areas where he could improve.
A lot to take in.
It's mind-blowing how much goes into a golf swing, even for us weekend hackers.
Well, the human body is an incredible machine, and the golf swing is a complex movement.
Yeah, and I think what's inspiring is that we can all learn from Rory's technique, even if we'll never reach his level.
Absolutely. There are definitely takeaways here for everyone.
So what would you say are some key things that everyday golfers can learn from Rory's swing?
I'd say the biggest one is the importance of efficiency and sequencing. A lot of amateur golfers try to swing as hard as they can, but real power comes from a smooth, well-timed sequence of motions.
So it's not about muscle, it's about finesse.
It's about using your body's natural mechanics to generate power.
That makes sense. And we talked about the importance of vertical motion.
Yes. Letting those hips drop during the downswing adds so much power and stability.
I'm definitely going to be thinking about that next time I'm on the range. Are there any specific drills or exercises that you'd recommend to kind of improve those things, sequencing and vertical motion?
Oh, absolutely. There are tons of drills out there, but a simple one is to practice your swing with your feet together.
Oh, yeah, with your feet together.
It really forces you to engage your core and rotate your upper body correctly.
I like that one. I'm going to try that. It's amazing how much studying the swing of a pro like Rory can teach us about the fundamentals.
It's like a masterclass in biomechanics.
And it's not just about golf, right?
No, not at all.
These principles of efficiency and sequencing, they apply to any sport, any physical activity.
Exactly, whether you're running, swimming, dancing, you name it.
It's about moving your body the right way.
Yeah.
And finding that sweet spot between effort and ease.
I love that.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up this part of our deep dive into Rory's swing, I want to leave our listeners with another question to ponder.
Okay, I'm ready.
What other seemingly simple actions rely on this level of complex biomechanics?
That's a really interesting question.
Yeah.
I think we often take for granted how complex our movements really are.
We do.
I mean, even something like walking, which we do every day, involves so many muscles and joints working together in perfect harmony.
It's true. When you really think about it, it's kind of mind-blowing.
It is. The human body is truly an amazing machine.
We're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we'll explore that idea further and see what other insights we can glean from the world of biomechanics and movement. It's amazing to think about how much is going on under the hood, so to speak, every time we take a step.
It really is. And it makes you appreciate the incredible design of the human body, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's like we're walking around with these high-performance machines, but we rarely stop to think about how they actually work.
That's so true. We just take it for granted until something goes wrong.
And the thing is, just like any machine, our bodies can be fine-tuned and optimized for better performance.
Yeah, for sure. And that's where I think studying the experts comes in,
Like Rory?
Exactly like Rory or Simone Biles or even a master chef.
It's about learning from the best and seeing how they've mastered their craft.
And it's not just about mimicking their movements exactly, but understanding those underlying principles of efficiency and control.
Right, it's about finding those universal principles that can be applied to any skill, any activity.
Whether you're trying to improve your golf swing, perfect your cooking technique, or just move through the world with more grace and ease, there's always something to learn from those who have already achieved mastery.
And that's what's been so fascinating about this deep dive into Rory's swing. It's got a way beyond just golf. We've uncovered these principles of biomechanics and movement that apply to so many aspects of life.
And hopefully we've inspired our listeners to think a little differently about how they move, how they use their bodies.
Yeah, maybe even have some of those aha moments where they see something in a new light.
I love those moments.
Me too. It's that spark of inspiration that can lead to some amazing breakthroughs.
It's the power of knowledge and observation, right?
Exactly. It's about opening our minds to new possibilities and realizing that we can achieve more than we thought possible.
It's been a pleasure exploring this topic with you.
Likewise, and to our listeners, thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the mechanics of Rory McIlroy's golf swing. We hope you've enjoyed the journey and come away with some valuable insights.
And remember, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep pushing the boundaries of your own potential.
Until next time.